For the second time this month, Governor Brian Kemp has signed controversial legislation into law, this time changing the way schools teach students about race.
I spoke with Savannah-Chatham County Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Levett about these new laws earlier today. Governor is signing some bills today that directly impact schools across the state. He's signing into law House Bill 1084. It stops teachers from teaching certain things about race and racism in the classroom. So can you give us your reaction to that and the impact that you believe it will have real time in classrooms in Savannah-Chatham County schools?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of these things, which we've certainly discussed all during the assembly. One thing that I recognize is that a lot of this is conversation and rhetoric, but teachers are expected to teach the curriculum, and we have not yet seen any detailed information that speaks to what teachers can and cannot teach. In Savannah-Chatham County Public Schools, we will continue to do what we have been doing, which is teaching the curriculum, teaching history. It is not our intention ever to make anyone feel bad about anything. We are simply teaching the facts and the perspectives. So I think our teachers will continue to discuss, as we will, what this means, but we haven't seen anything specific in terms of what people aren't supposed to say or teach. I find it very interesting that it's very, very nebulous, but our job is to follow the curriculum, and we will continue to do that.
Speaking,
so that's my perspective on 1084.
And speaking of curriculum, so Senate Bill 226, it is another thing that would potentially impact curriculum. It speeds up the process for removing books from libraries in schools and curriculum. What are your thoughts on that? There's always been a lot of controversy about removing books in this country.
I'm just amazed at how this has taken legs. Our school district policies, as we have laid them out, are very specific in regard to a parent's rights to have their child not be exposed to particular books. And those policies are still there. They are reinforced and they are available. In terms of removing books, there are policies that allow for that to happen, and we expect to comply with those. So, it's a lot of conversation about it because there appears to be a national movement in that area, but we've had parents elect for their children not to read certain books or not to be exposed to certain books, and that remains in place. If there are books that we find to be inappropriate, then they can be removed, and there's a process for that.
Dr. Levett, do you believe that children in this country, specifically children in the Savannah-Chatham County public school system, are being caught up in politics and, the game of winning elections? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, politics always has a role to play. I mean, when you're born, a politician signs your birth certificate, and when you die, another politician signs your death certificate. So we live with politics. I think what has been probably dismaying in some ways and discouraging in some ways is that education has become fodder for philosophical and ideological ideas that really have that really may be impactful but may not be connected to reality, and that some of these actions are really rooted in the ideas of people who are far removed from schools. I also think that it's a reflection of the times that we're living in, and we will do always what's in the best interest of children and giving parents what they need so that they can make good choices for their children.
All right, Dr. Levett, Superintendent of Savannah-Chatham County Public School System, thank you so much for joining us today on First News at 4. We know your time is precious. Thank you for weighing in.
Thank you so much.
All right, so a last-minute addition to the bill about teaching race also establishes a statewide school athletics oversight committee that will decide whether transgender students should be allowed to participate in sports that align with their gender identity. And Tina, you know, what this really comes down to, regardless of where you stand on the issue, is preparing children for discussions they're going to have in life as they grow older.
Of course, there are many differences and perspectives when it comes to critical race theory, Edward. I do have some friends, they're parents, kids right here in the Savannah-Chatham County School District, and they are talking to their children, making sure that they are aware of critical race theory and what's happening from the top down, bringing it to the kitchen table and talking about this very topic because they want to make sure that their kids are prepared, that they are aware. Because at some point, they will encounter a conversation.
They're going to have to talk about it. They
absolutely.
All right, well, we have a school year ending. We will look at next school year and see how this pans out.